Hey, welcome to For the Kingdom Hour. I'm Shelly Hendrix. I don't know if y'all heard this, but we're about to do
We're
it
gonna
again.
double it up.
Double it up. Oh, look at my hair. I need to get my roots done, girl. Oh, goodness. Okay.
We are quite loud. Are we loud on live, or do we need to be turned down a little bit?
I mean, I don't even know. Does it sound loud to you?
In my head, very much so. Yes, very much
Hey,
so.
the things that are
Things in my head, yeah, that's a whole
oh,
different
we're
story.
good. Yay. I'm sorry.
We're
sorry.
winging it tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Listen,
Yes.
that isn't that like our life though?
Yeah. You gotta just go. You gotta go.
Is it really?
Yes.
Roll and go.
I wing it every day.
Well, we always do.
So this is my daily life. Welcome to me. Welcome to the show of Winging It.
Yes, I know for sure.
So Kelly, tell us. Well, I always start with.
I was gonna say, wait a minute, girl, you're skipping a step.
Yeah. Okay. King Jesus, thank you for these beautiful ladies here today. I just ask that you bless their families, you keep us protected, and bless our businesses, Father God, and lead us each day spiritually, and just let us be the voice. And when people look at us, I want them to, see you in our actions, our words, and how we just do things for the kingdom. So we love you so much. In your sweet, precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Kelly.
Yes.
Tell me, girl.
Yes.
First,
Yeah.
where were you born?
Where was I born? Laconia, New Hampshire. New Hampshire.
Oh,
New
nice.
Hampshire girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you grew up there?
Grew up there. Traveled around a bit, but that was always home.
Yeah.
Yep. Little
What
small
brought you to
town.
Texas?
My boyfriend moved here for work.
Oh, okay.
So I eventually dragged my feet and came down.
Oh,
To leave my family.
must mean that
so
he's
hard.
worth something.
You better.
Love brought you what? How many miles is that? 5,000?
No, it's like 2,000.
Okay.
Okay, still a lot.
It's still
Yeah.
a lot.
It's in the thousands.
It's
a
still
lot.
more than a day's drive to get back home.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
like psychological warfare, but
Aw.
I'll deal with it.
So, how did you come into what it is you do now? First, tell us what you do, your title, where you went to school, stuff
Yeah.
like your
So,
training.
oh my gosh. So what I do, if I put it in one like sentence, is I guess I read people's energy and I get them connected to themselves is the best way to put it.
Mhm.
Because it's always when we are off center with ourselves that we get sick, that we get anxiety, that things in our life just go into a wobble.
Right.
I call it, call it problems. I call it a wobble. I don't like
Yeah.
labels. So my background is in holistic health. And that's where I started. I decided I couldn't do the 9 to 5 thing anymore. It was just like killing me. And I'm like, I just felt there was something else in me that wanted to come out. So holistic health, it always been my go-to. So I trained, I worked, I went to school, studied all kinds of things, tongue and pulse analysis, iridology, herbs, body systems analysis, the basics back in 2010, I think. And then I opened up my first practice in Wolfboro, New Hampshire, brick and mortar, and I loved it. It was my dream. I remember like crying when I had it all set up, like, this is really mine.
It becomes real.
Yeah. It did. And so after sitting with people for so long and like listening to their problems, I have, digestive issues, can't lose weight, all the things, I started to notice that I could I would almost tune out the words and naturally just started tuning into their energy. And I could tell kind of what was going on with them. I could just feel it in my body, like what was out of balance, what they needed for remedies. And then that went further into being able to feel their emotions, as we call maybe as an empath, I call it kinetic intuition, where you just feel things in your body and you can see or feel or sense people where they're off track with themselves. And that brought me down the rabbit hole of vibrational medicine and getting into quantum science and how everything is just frequency and vibration. And we all know that word now, frequency and vibration. So it's not new or cutting edge. It's just being able to quantify what we feel, right? And so I went to England to study bioresonance because I don't want to say back then, but then they had these big devices where you could hook them up to someone and it could read their entire body, their meridians, their chakras, their emotions, as well as your vitamin B12 and how's your liver functioning and stuff. And I finally got that, I say smuggled back into the United States because customs gave me a big problem because it was a medical device that wasn't allowed to be used in the United States. So I practiced that for a while. And then again, I just learned that I didn't need the machine. I could just read into people, and that just kept bringing me into the realm of personal growth and getting into the spiritual level of what's happening in the body, and that it's all spiritual, no matter which way you slice it or dice it. And so those are really the bigger concepts I love talking about, because people, when you zoom them out to look at the bigger picture, it's like, okay, now I know why I have this digestive issue, or I know why I'm never happy, or I know why I can't get out of this money problem, or my own way, or can't lose weight or something, which I know we're going to talk about those bigger spiritual issues, the bigger spiritual picture, so to speak. So everyone can like see how they can apply and shift it today, not, when things are perfect, but like today, it's got to start today.
Exactly.
So it's like it's a spiritual gift. It really is.
It is. And I think everyone has a spiritual gift. It's just being, and I was talking to one of my clients today about this. It's like, it's not about even figuring out what your spiritual gift is, or your purpose. We'll call that purpose. It's making yourself available to it.
Open to it.
Open to it. Because it is already in you. We all have something
Exactly.
very amazing.
It's unlocking that door and being willing to walk through it to see where it goes.
Exactly. Yeah. It's embedded. You were born with it. It's from spirit. So who are you to get in the way of it?
Exactly. Really? And once you actually open that door and you let yourself go through it, it's so freeing.
It is.
It really is. And you have, it's almost, I mean, I don't want to speak for you because everyone's different, but in the times, because I'm a back and forth person, like I will follow my gift and then I'll take everything back and put it all back on myself, and then I'm back in my little bubble. But when you actually let it go and you allow yourself to be that freedom of who you're called to be, or what you're called to be, it is empowering, and it causes you to have energy up, not down. It causes you to have positive thinking, not negative. And when you have all of those things, and I like encourage anybody who's listening that if you're doing certain things and you feel those feelings, you're probably on the right track. Yeah. So I think that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, because we do all have that inner GPS system that's guiding us anyways. But when we are, our bodies are toxic and we're just stressed out and we're not taking time for ourselves, it's hard to connect to that inner knowing, even there it's there guiding you every moment of the day. Yeah. And I'm guilty of it just as much as anyone else, believe me, because we're human at the same time.
Of course.
Yeah. So that machine, does it like hook up to, those are like electrodes that?
Yeah, it's so the one I had back then was like this big. It was huge. But now, that was back in 2010. Now the one that I have is literally this big, and it's like a 2x2, and it just scans your body for frequency and then sends you a matching frequency. So basically it's like homeopathic medicine, right? The homeopathic remedy is like the same frequency of your, the cyst that you have on your arm, and it just cancels itself out. And that's what the frequency machines do. Wow. They're amazing.
Very interesting.
It's all frequency.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
So what would like an appointment with you, like, can you just take us through what that would look like from start to finish?
Yes. So when I work with clients, I work with them through Zoom or in person. I love in person. It's the best way to feel energy,
in my opinion,
and to talk.
We just talked about this.
Yeah,
we did.
It's so powerful too, because this osmosis things begins to happen. But I sit with someone and I ask them questions, and the questions that I ask are truly just downloaded questions. It's okay, Spirit wants me to ask you this. And I don't always preface it that way, but that's where the questions start, because I want people to be clear about what it is they want, or where they're perceiving they're stuck, basically, because sometimes we're so off track with even that, and that's why we can't find our way, because the whole thing is a mess. The whole thing is shady. Yes. And then I tune into someone's energy, and then we just start having a conversation, and we start moving to solutions. Sometimes we do energy healing, right? Because we know we get like blocks and just stuff stuck in the body, old emotions stuck in the body that's got to be moved out. Sometimes I have a huge toolbox of things that I use on people, and everyone's very unique. Sometimes we just talk, sometimes we meditate, but basically I'm realigning someone with their North Star, so that they are solid and strong in the places where they don't feel solid and strong, because we all have those places where we just feel wobbly, even though this part of your life might be really strong and stable. I got myself there, but there can be something else that you're constantly triggered in or spun out in. And it's like, oh, okay, I finally want to move forward. So I'm going to have to get an outside pair of eyes. And sometimes it just takes one session to like shift what needs to be shifted so that they can lock and load back in their center. The work, I work with so many different things, whether it's like purpose, people stuck in anxiety, people with health problems. It's so many different subjects that people come to me for, but it's still the same process that we go through because it's just realigning with yourself. It's getting your perspective back on what's true, which is spirit, which is love, which is perfection, which is there's nothing actually wrong with you or your life right now. It's moving your awareness off of the problem, in so many different ways, but getting you back to what's true, because that is where your cells are going to be like, okay, that feels good, right? Because truth feels good. Truth always feels good.
Fair point.
That's
true.
It's like mind over matter. It's like whatever you think. And that's kind of like the law of attraction. Whatever you think, you speak. And before you know it, that's
what you're encompassing yourself with. Yes.
We're very powerful and we don't realize how to use
I mean,
that.
And some of us are aware of it and abuse it, but we're not going to go there. But
the Bible says that too.
Yes, it does.
About
It does.
we have the kingdom, authority of the kingdom within
We sure
us.
do.
So you can always, I feel like,
call
if
on
you
that.
believe in it and then you use your authority, you can speak it. And that's
Absolutely.
why I was drawn to the law of attraction when you said that title for the topic today, through a spiritual lens.
Valentine's Day next week, so.
Lord.
Listen, that just went. My mind went left.
You said law of attraction,
Okay.
and I'm like, well, it's Valentine's Day next week, so that
I
makes
was like
sense. That makes
6'4". I'm just kidding. Joking. I'm not I do not want no relationship. Let me get my youngest child graduate out of high school, and then I'll maybe consider a
There you go.
relationship.
Right.
Priorities.
But, yeah.
Time is
Self-love.
Yeah. I'm not getting any younger though.
Hey, you look like you are.
Well, I'm 42. Thank
Oh.
you. But
I
I
don't know if
feel
I
like I'm
actually ever knew your age.
26, maybe.
Yeah, I don't want to ever go back to my 20s.
That's
I really don't.
Really?
I don't.
I'd like to be
Mine were hard.
36.
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
just
How old are you,
stay.
Kelly?
41.
Okay. You
41.
told me that when we had lunch.
Yeah.
You
But
don't
I-
look it.
I like 36. I'm just going to stay there.
That's
I
where I'm
like-
at right now. I'm at 36 and I enjoy it and I'm liking it
That's
and I'm
perfect.
okay with it. So
I liked 27 and 33. I don't know why.
okay. Maybe it's
But-
a number thing.
Well, 27, I had my last kid, so
Mhm.
that was a special time.
Mhm.
And knowing it was my last, well, so I thought it would be my last, which it is, but I digress. And then 33, I think just because that's when I figured out, like, hey, I didn't want to be in medicine no more.
Mhm. You found yourself.
Yeah, I found myself. I'm like, man, if I could have figured this out when I was in school, when I was in my 20s, just
Right.
think how. So it's
What's that country song? Wisdom would be wasted on the young because it's a lot less fun.
That's true.
Yes.
I don't know that song, but
It's a
sounds
country song.
accurate.
Yeah, and I think it's Keith Urban actually, to be honest with you. But yeah, he says that. He says wisdom when you're young would be a lot less fun. For sure.
Mhm.
Well, we talk about everything. We have all kinds of people on the show.
Mhm.
And what intrigued me the most about you when I met you
Mhm.
is your energy. Because
Which is right in her
and I think maybe subconsciously I remember you saying that, what you do, but still looking back and this is the third time we've met, you have a great energy about you, and you have a great
Thank you.
kindred spirit about you.
Mm.
And I
Practice
just
that.
do you? Okay, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, how do you practice that?
How do you practice
What does that even mean?
Yeah. So I just recently figured this out too.
Okay.
We're always growing.
Trade secret.
Yes.
But oh my gosh, the last couple years were like really like up and down because I was going through this huge growth phase. So I had to go through a lot of my own blocks and my own inner stuff, right?
Mhm.
My own inner stuff. And I got so stuck in one part of my life that I noticed I was like withdrawing from people and isolating because I'm like, no, I'm going to succeed in this area of my life. But then I didn't like the person that I was becoming.
Mhm.
I'm like, who even is this person? And I could just feel all of it in my body. I could feel like my body crunching up. I could feel my face crunching up. I'm like, oh God, I need Botox. but I could just sense it. And I'm like, this does not feel like me. And does not feel like a beautiful person. Right. And so what I decided is no matter what, I'm going to run the context of my life through a beautiful person. what would she do? How would she show up? How would she respond? Because I felt like I was just being like ugly all the time to people because I was so angry and so frustrated, and things weren't fair, and all the things that we go through when we get into like a victim mentality, basically. And being someone who's like doesn't like to ask for help, I'll figure it out on my own. So it's this idea of I'm just going to run everything through the context of being a beautiful person. And we can all, the cool thing is we can all pick many different words to run our life through, so that becomes like the filter for everything, but a good filter. And so this is just something that I've been practicing mindfully on the daily. Like, okay, what thoughts am I going to have? How am I going to be with my partner if I'm going to be like a beautiful person? Because to me, a beautiful person is just someone who radiates joy, right? Not that we're joyful all the time, but the joy is the truth of your being, you know, that radiates like, okay, I don't have to believe that you're against me.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
the old programs run,
Yes.
you know, because I know that what I'm might be perceiving in my environment isn't what's truth, right? The only thing that's truth is that spiritual truth, but everything is working out for me. And these people are here for me, you know. God sent them as angels to say, you know, like, say this to her, you know, even if that triggers you through your growth.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, everything is working for me, so I don't need to be so reactive and so responsive, because that's exactly how I was being, just like the claws coming out on the daily. I'm like, this is not who I am. So I'm just shifting out of that slowly.
Good.
Not to say I don't have my claw days, but
Oh, I think we all
I have
we're
claw
women.
days. I have claw weeks, claw months. I'm just kidding.
Claw season.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Like, I'm in a claw season right now. I'm gonna have to get back on that.
Yeah, you might want
Don't.
to stay away from it.
Yeah, that should be like code in our house. Like when I talk to the kids,
It's claw season,
Yeah, it's claw season. So,
That house. I'm doing this.
yeah, but I mean, I'm guilty of that too. Our perceptions are reality, but it's not reality.
It's
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 the
the way we
reality of the
perceive
situation that we've been given
Right.
and
Conditioned.
conditioned. And I think I bring up this dang book almost every time we have one of these talks, because I don't know why, but it's so prevalent every single time we talk to someone. And it's called The Four Agreements. I talk about this all the time. I don't know if you've ever read it.
Yeah, I've got it.
It's amazing. It's such a good book. And it talks exactly what you're saying about rearranging your thought process, rearranging what you've been learned about yourself or taught about yourself throughout the years, and realizing that that's not true. That's not your truth.
Right.
That's not who you are. You are who you choose to be, and what you choose to bring in as your energy, and what you choose to be the truth of the situation, the truth of the people, and how you want to be a good person. And it says in the book that you want to, that you need to be presenting yourself with impeccable, impeccable. The first agreement is to basically be impeccable. So meaning like with your word, impeccable word. Yes, that's what it was. So when you're talking to people, when you're being with people, like you're saying, present yourself to them as if you want to have impeccable speech, and you want to, and what it means by impeccable speech doesn't mean like you have to have a high vocabulary, you have to have this, that, and the other. It means being honest, truthful, loving, and kind in the way you speak, presenting to people the way you would want to be presented to, the golden rule, like the Bible says, but in a different context. So it's so important. And I think exactly like you said, to make sure you're knowing what energy you're putting out. If you want to change yourself, you have to be conscientious of it. You have to be proactive about it. You have to do all of those things, because no one's going to change you. You have to change you.
Exactly.
And you have to bring in the energy that you want to receive, and you have to give it out too. So I totally agree with that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Our word is really, you know, being impeccable with our word is important. And the differentiation that I had to make too was there's a very big difference between being nice, because nice is deadly.
It can be.
And being respectful,
Right.
you know, having reverence for something. Because if we're just trying to be nice all the time, then we're being inauthentic as well. And then
you're
have no
causing damage to
have
yourself.
no boundaries and all the things. It's like, I know that there's a sleeping volcano inside me that I can unleash anytime if I need to, but I get to be impeccable with the way I present that when I need to stand up for something. And that's that other part that gives me that sense of inner strength, so to speak, because that was a part in me where I was really wobbly. I felt like I didn't have a backbone. I felt like people crossed my boundaries all the time, back in my early 20s.
Mm.
And then I just started building that up, by having my own back and not needing to be nice. Because we're taught, be nice, be nice, be nice, be nice.
Yeah.
Go give them a hug, just be nice. But nice can be deadly. So it's
I'm
being
so guilty
respectful.
of that. I'm
Yeah.
so guilty of not setting boundaries
Yeah.
and being too nice, and then reflecting and be like, I feel like this person's taking advantage of me. Well, they are.
Yeah. You gave them the
Exactly.
window too, and the door too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I still do it in some places, but now I'm catching myself more and more and more. Like just today, I caught myself not saying yes to something for myself because I'm like, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint that person. The guy at the cell phone store. I'm like saying I didn't want this phone anymore. I want to cancel the entire contract. I'm like, look, I feel guilty about that. And then I'm like, no.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt his personal life. Yeah.
I can't
He won't lose sleep
I
over
can't
it
be
tonight.
this person.
Right.
So just coming back to that, spiritual truth again and again and again, and embodying it is the important thing. Because back when affirmations, I don't know if you guys remember when like the Abraham Hicks books came out, the Law of Attraction, Ask and It Is Given, back at, I don't know, I found them in like 2010 when everything got really wobbly for me. And I remember listening to, or reading all the information about affirmations, and they just made me really peeved because I'm like, these don't work at all. Because the part that was missing there was like the embodiment of it, embodiment of I am overflow. Like I am the vibrational remedy to the very problem that I have. Like,
Right.
how do I become the vibrational remedy? And that's a question I ask myself all the time, because when we're in like a low spot and we're stuck in the problem and we can't see the solution, to bring ourselves up and out of that vibration, we've just got to ask better questions, right? Intelligent questions like, how can I be a vibrational remedy to the solution? Because then because your body is listening to your mind
Thoughts.
and your
Yeah.
thoughts and your commands, it'll instantly start to shift.
Yeah.
And the more you can tune into it and be aware of it, all of a sudden you're in a different state. You're like, okay, this is where I need to hold my energy in order to procure a different reality for me right now. It's really magical and it's really easy. And we're all alchemists in that way, that we can, transmute lower energies. We were born alchemists. And I think that's what, in my opinion, that's what like Jesus was trying to teach. It's like he was the great alchemizer. He healed so much of the ego, thinking, I'm not the separation between, am I God? Am I not? Is it in me? Is it outside of me? And then he
It's
like
all
really
together,
embodied it and showed it by commanding and manifesting. And, the Bible is a beautiful, to me, it's like this secret code book to the laws of the universe. If you dissect it and look at the allegory in it, it's mystical and it's magical, and it holds so many truths about manifestation.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
It does. I think that's why they're so similar, the two, and all the incredible stories in the Bible, and then the power that God had and that was in his son. Well, it's in us. And so we can speak to those, whatever you want to call it, challenges, demons, bad habits, and we can change it. We really can.
Yeah, we can change it. And it's like, I think everyone has their own kind of unique way to change it based on your spiritual gift.
Yeah.
But we all do. I know you can just bring love into whatever you're feeling. Love is like, on a scientific level, it is the universal solvent. It just dissolves those lower frequencies.
Yeah.
So doesn't compassion. And I think that's a word that we throw around, but to actually feel compassion for yourself is actually like being able
that's the
to
hardest thing, though.
Witness what you're feeling, but not become it, and that's what compassion is. And, even when we look at compassion for another person, it's, can I witness you without lowering my vibration to meet you because I need to save you, kind of thing.
Right.
Right. That's not a fun thing to do. And we're all
guilty.
Yeah. As kids, that's what we're like, this is just what you do.
Yeah.
I don't want to make you feel bad because I'm happy and you're not.
Well, I'm guilty of that too, as far as like you said earlier, when we're going to break. Sorry.
Commercial break.
We'll
We'll be me and Brittany will be right back with our special guest, Kelly Libby, after this short break.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Out-of-date carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleburne, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleburne, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
Serving Johnson County, Texas. Joco Community Radio.
Very positive.
I love the intro music.
I do
So
too.
just bring it right on back right there. Okay, we're
Get close and
back
personal.
for the Kingdom Hour. We're talking about the laws of attraction through a spiritual lens with our special guest, Kelly Libby, and co-host Brittany Turner. Do a little housekeeping here. Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio Network. TuneInJoco.com is the place to find all the ways to listen and watch. The station app is also available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store and more. Check out our lineup and more at JocoCommunityRadio.com. This episode and more is brought to you by Patriot Claims. Making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep, 1-844-839-4245. Be sure to dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com. And we're back. Kelly, we were talking about your experience and what you do, and I forgot what we were talking about before we went to commercial.
Well, I was gonna say something along the lines where she was talking about how when we're kids, we're taught to just go give them a hug, just be nice, be this, be that. My mom raised me that way 1000%. So and y'all can hate me all you want, I don't care. I'm from California, and I was born in Colorado. When I was 6 months old, we moved to California. And so I like to say I'm not technically Californian, but my mom and my dad are both from Iowa. So they were always raised with the Midwest values of you're kind to your neighbor, you're polite to everyone, you say yes ma'am, yes sir. But I mean, they didn't teach me that part, because in California you say that to someone, they're like, huh? Yeah, like they'll look at you real weird. But the kindness thing, the thing where no matter what, you're kind to others, you're polite, you're this, you're that. And so that's how I was raised. And I got walked all over as a kid and all over as a teen, preteen, and young adult, because I thought that that's what everyone did. I thought everyone behaved that way, because my mom always said you have to do the golden rule. The golden rule: treat someone how you would want to be treated. Little did I know that the world does not operate the way I do.
Yeah.
And so when you're saying that you have to present that energy within yourself, but at the same time, you're trying to be compassionate and kind to others and help them and preserve your energy too, it is a struggle. And we are teaching our kids nowadays. Well, at least nowadays, I don't think we're actually teaching our kids to be kind at all, to be honest, if I'm going to be honest. I think we're teaching our kids to be kind of self-righteous, whatevers. But when back in the day, when my kids were younger and when I was younger, the thought process was be kind to others, and it doesn't matter what it does to you. It doesn't matter if you feel bad or they wronged you and they made you feel less than anything. It's up to you to make them feel better. And I think that's wrong. And I think that we went about that in the wrong way and presented the wrong energy into that situation, where it should have been, I see where you come from. I feel where you're coming from. However, I'm going to stay here in my safe spot, and I'm going to see you for who you are and what you need and what's wrong. But I'm going to be over here so that I can help you the best way I can. And that's something that I was guilty of with my children, because I was raised that way. And so I caught myself one year because my daughter, oh my gosh, Kaylee, my oldest daughter, she is beyond smart. She believes in energy. She believes in crystals and how they can help, and healing powers and things like that. So she and I bicker a little bit sometimes because I'm so spiritual in my Christian walk and she's spiritual in a different way. But we always meet in the middle. But she came up to me one time and I was saying, baby, just be nice to her. She goes, Mommy, I'm not being mean to her. I'm just setting my boundaries. I was like, dang, you know more than I do. Yes, I know. She makes me do that all the time. And she's just this kid that just knows. And we need to practice that more in ourselves and in our daily lives, because I know that I'm not great at setting boundaries. I'm not good at allowing myself that self-empowering energy that I need in order to help someone, because we want to give and give and give, especially if you're a giving person and that's your calling. Your calling is to help. Your calling is to be empathetic and to be an empath, and you feel the feelings and vibrations. Shelly and I both are empaths.
Yeah.
And we feel everyone's energy, and it's draining sometimes if you don't do what you're saying, where you don't allow yourself to have that part where you separate. And when you're raised in the way that I was raised and you were raised, separating yourself means you're being selfish.
Right.
And that's not the truth.
Right.
Separating yourself gives you that opportunity to rejuvenate, to reprocess, to get that energy back up so that you can actually help. And that's something I think we really need to start instilling in people more nowadays.
Yeah, having the standards and boundaries. And standards and boundaries is like, it's a big part of the work that I do, a big part of the work that I do with people. Because when we have like anxiety, that is a clear indication that there is a boundary that you're allowing to be crossed because of a standard you're not holding for yourself. And it's, I mean, we can't look inside and see, so it's something that I help clients with, because I kind of just tune into it and say, oh, it's, you're not speaking up to your husband, or you're like going along with this when you really don't want to be going along with it. Because we all have this in there. We all have an inner GPS, and the magical thing about it, and this is all, and there's so many books about this from great scientists, not just, the land of woo, so I call it, but your unique body is born with a blueprint. It contains your purpose. It contains your spiritual gifts. It contains the things that you're naturally going to be gifted at, which are, your talents, which are also your passions, the things that just come naturally to you. And your emotions, so to speak, are always just trying to get you back to that authentic way of being, so that you're saying yes to the things that are actually a yes for you, and saying no to the things that are actually a no for you, that's the thing we have, trouble with, is saying no to something that's a no for us, something that takes us off our path, because the body is always going to try to get you back to your authenticity, because it wants to fulfill this purpose. It wants to fulfill itself. It just like nature, right? Nature is just wanting to grow into its, like a tree. It's like, I'm growing through the stone wall. You'll never stop me, kind of thing. And the body is doing that too. The soul is doing that, and it wants to express in its fullest self. So the more and the faster we learn this about tuning into exactly what that is, so that your yeses are always aligned with it and your nos are not going to detract you from it, what will happen is your chemistry in your body will actually balance itself out. Your brain chemistry will balance itself out. A lot of, they call anxiety, depression, chemical imbalances or whatever. And yeah, it's a chemical imbalance, but it's caused because you're not being true to yourself. Thyroid disorders are when you're not speaking your truth. We know that now through kinesiology. And so when we get on track with ourselves, it even steps us up into our executive center in our brain, meaning we're out of the primal fight or flight, just looking, to survive basically. And we can start to see a bigger picture. We're tuned into the bigger picture. We're tuned into a higher frequency, so to speak. Call it God, call it spirit, call it whatever word you love, but we're tuned into that frequency. And so our actions begin to change. We begin to perceive ourselves different. Our self appreciation, also called self-esteem, naturally begins to increase. And the more we allow ourselves to be taken off our track and our boundaries to be crossed like that, self-depreciation happens, where we begin to sense ourselves as smaller or less than, because the energy in our biofield begins to kind of like almost bleed itself out. So your nervous system is actually tracking a smaller energy. So it makes you feel small, which makes you believe you're disempowered. It's this whole psycho-emotional thing that actually happens. But in the spiritual realm, it's okay. I'll connect with the higher frequency, just keep claiming myself as one with God and keep acting like it, because people can talk about it all day long, but if they don't act like it, then nothing's going to happen. And you're not actually practicing spirituality.
Exactly.
You're teaching, you're practicing some dogmatic something.
So, to someone who needs to do several resets each day, what would you
Guilty
give
as well.
the lay person that's listening that doesn't know about this, or the law of attraction, or may not be considered spiritual, consider themselves spiritual? What's the best advice you can give to somebody who wants to be able to cope and deal with those feelings of dread when they come on, or those low frequency moments?
Self-esteem things, the anxiety,
Is it, would you tell them to look in the mirror, to say something, to like, what's your best advice on that?
We've got to go way bigger than that. Okay. What we need to do in a situation like that is, because I've tried all the things, believe me, like I've been in self-help and self-healing forever. I'm my best experiment. What we
and
actually,
a good teacher should do that, just by the way.
This is the only way to teach this stuff, is by actually going through it. You can't learn it and then just regurgitate it. That doesn't count. What we have to do is we actually, we have those feelings and we have those sensations, the dread, the like, whatever it is, because we're perceiving something that's untrue, right? We're perceiving that something is unfriendly, or that it's against us somehow, like not for us. And so the biggest thing that I could give someone for the biggest shift is to remember that the entire universe is one big explosion of joy. There's nothing serious happening in the universe, nothing. But it's our seriousness and that we think that we should be this, and we're freaking out because we don't have that, and we're comparing ourselves, and we're thinking we should be further along, and we should have never done that, and they should have never done that. That give us those senses of dread and anger and frustration and powerlessness and stuff like that. It's that because we forget who we are, and we forget what the universe actually is. But the universe is just one big explosion of joy.
At least it should be.
And if we know that, then it's like, okay, then what does that mean for me right now?
Where do I find my joy? How do I find my joy?
Because you are the universe, basically, in all of your cells, then that means the truth is that you are too. So I say, okay, so what are you being way too serious about right now? Because that's what happens.
That's what's bringing you down.
Way too serious about what is it in your life. And someone will spit it out. Oh, it's my son, or it's my whatever, it's my job,
career,
or my whatever, and it's because we're too serious about it. We're judging ourselves somewhere, and that's what disconnects us. So if we just remember that there's nothing serious happening in the universe, and to think of, instead of serious, because I used to be like a really serious overachiever, like everything was serious, and I
had to take it serious.
Try really hard, overwork yourself, kind of thing. Serious. And if we get out of serious and instead think about reverence, because that's like, oh, okay, that feels better in my body. I can have reverence for something that I'm working on. And if I don't have reverence for it, then why am I even working on that? It must be something from the ego. I could have reverence for my body instead of being so serious about my body, then beating myself up because I didn't do the thing, or I had chicken wings and I didn't go to the gym, and whatever it is. If we have reverence for ourselves, that completely changes the person we're being, because manifestation is all about, who am I being? No, not who am I pretending to be and say I'm going to be, but who am I actually being right now in this moment?
That's a good point.
And reverence is a great way to like bring you back to that truth of, okay, this is a different frequency than judgment and crushing myself
Yeah.
with my own brain.
And I liked what you said about when you were saying that you're currently going through that state right now where, and constantly, and every day is a growth moment for everyone. And if you don't see yourself that way, then you're fooling yourself, because no one knows everything. You're never at your top peak ever. I don't care where you are in your life. You're just not.
Mhm.
And the fact that you ask yourself every day, am I being a beautiful person? Am I being the beautiful person that I would want to other people to perceive me to be? And not necessarily because you care what they think, but because you know what you want for yourself,
Yeah.
and what you want other people to see you as.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with other people. It has nothing to do with with social media. It has nothing to do with magazines. Nothing. It's deeper than that. And I really, really like that. And that actually is probably going to stick with me for a while.
Right.
And I think a lot of people can probably use that too, because if you do ask yourself that question every single day, it's not about what you're doing. It's not about how much you're achieving. It's not about that. It's about the person you're being. It's about the qualities of the characteristics of your personality and who you are and how you are to others. And that is the part that I think people forget, because we get so focused on, do I have the best job? Do I have the best car? Do I have the best house? Do I have this, that, and the other? Like you said, the universe doesn't care about your car, doesn't care about your job, doesn't care about any swag you may have around the town. It cares about your heart and who you are. And the Bible says the same thing.
We can't take none of that with us.
No.
When we go to when we die and go to heaven, that's just all that.
Yeah.
None of that belongs to us.
Yeah. Right. And it's, I don't know where, and I could be wrong, and I'm like, people might call me blasphemous if I say this, but I believe somewhere in the Bible it says something along the lines where the soul is energy, something like that. It's not exact word for word, but it kind of refers to kind of that. So I think that's where a lot of this all kind of comes together. And I'm that person where I don't believe that necessarily one religion's right, this religion's right, this one's wrong, this one's this. I believe that everyone, in a sense, not everyone, okay, but the majority, in a sense, are all believing the same thing in different ways. And the Bible says that God comes to you where you are and meets you where you're at. He comes by many names. He's known by many names. And so I don't think that we should be excluding people who may not use the name Yahweh or Jesus, or they use the name Spirit. We're
not supposed to exclude anybody.
No, we're not. I mean, if you're doing things that are absolutely not okay, then whatever. I'm not going to say, yeah,
that's the boundary.
Yeah, that's the boundary. I'm going to set that boundary right there. I'm like, nah, we're done here. But
I'll pray for you.
Exactly. I'll pray for you. I hope your energy gets better.
And by the way, people are listening, and you, Kelly, we usually say this, like, me and Brittany do not attempt to. We can't quote a bunch of scripture. No. We're just two sold out, drop dead Jesus freaks that love Jesus, but we talk about everyday things and everyday lives. And so we're just,
and we
I'm sure people judge us, but I don't, you know what? All I care about is what God has to say.
Exactly. But that's the thing. We don't ever judge anyone else. And that's why we have everyone on the show with us, because I want to hear that. Like, the things that you have to say are very important and very poignant and actually have a lot of value. And it doesn't matter whether or not you are, oh, well, I follow it because the scripture says this, that, and the other. It's no, you're trying to help people be better, stronger, more loving people. And that's what God calls us to do.
And
so
we can
say that's not right.
Right. And we can have different beliefs than each other. And some people, especially, I'm not, okay, I don't need to say that, but some people, some listeners, like, whether they're in the church or out of the church, might listen to this show or the other shows I've done, like Angel Numbers and stuff, and really shake their head at me or the topic and be like, that's,
you can't please everyone, Shelly.
Well, listen, it's my truth, and everybody's truth is different.
Exactly.
And everybody's perception of the Bible is different. And everybody's perception, if they choose to believe, and if they're spiritual and if they're not. So I might get criticism because I do believe in Jesus, and I also believe in energy. I mean, we are, like, you're right. Somewhere in the Bible, I'm sure it does say that.
I think it does. Like I said, I can't quote it. I don't know.
We're terrible at that.
Yeah.
I know I need to work on my.
But that is not something you should put yourself down for. It's just something you want to learn.
I just said something I need to work on. Yeah. But when I think, When I think about like in the morning, I do my devotion and I
Mhm.
pray to God. My prayer life, I know,
I love that
needs
app
to
you gave
be.
me, by the way. But anyway,
You love what?
I love that app you gave me. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh yeah, Pray
Yeah.
app. We should be endorsed for some of these
We
things. We
should.
shout out
I
to.
swear. Hey,
Shout out
there's
to
our
the Pray
sponsors.
app.
There's our
Pray-
sponsors.
right. The PRAY app. Get
Black,
it?
black background,
It's-
just white words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
white letters. Pray. It's thebomb.com. Okay, you can like find probably your pastor and about a million other pastors on there, and sermons and bedtime stories, and it's just awesome.
Sorry,
Just
can I
get
go?
it.
Can I go on a weird tangent to the right for a
Yeah,
second?
but we have like 5 minutes, and
5
I want to.
Okay, well, I just wanted
Libby.
to say one thing that I love about Texas people is y'all call your pastors pastures.
I don't know about that.
You just did 5 times.
Pasture.
missed it.
Pasture.
I
It's a
missed it.
pastor.
It's my country train.
Anyway,
Libby, where do people find you? Not out in the pasture,
Not out in the
right?
pasture. KellyMLibby.com. Mostly I show up on Instagram though. That's easy. I like easy. So it's Kelly M. Libby on Instagram. There's all kinds, I teach all kinds of programs. There's all kinds of content on there, lots of paid programs. Everything you can imagine about personal growth and getting you closer to the truth that you are, which is that spiritual truth that those great spiritual texts, talk about, which is something I love to dissect.
Yes, absolutely.
It's something I absolutely love to
No,
dissect.
I love having the dialect and the discussions and I don't, like I said, I don't judge anyone, and I actually find it very fascinating to see other people's point of views and where they come from and how they see it, and it's just fascinating to me. And like, I'm not going to be mad at somebody because they believe something different or they see something different. I mean, unless your belief leads to violence and anger and other
Right.
things, but like, I think it's beautiful to see other people's perspectives and how they see the world and how they help others.
Yeah.
Because then, like, this whole talk, I can help others with what you told me, and we don't have to be the same religion, we don't have to be the same that, but our hearts are in the same place, our desires for the world are in the same place.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah, your heart holds the truth.
Mhm.
Regardless of what anyone tries to tell you, whatever book you read, like your heart is always going to tell you the truth.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
all of the gifts you could ever imagine are there once we get past the ego, once we get past the blocks. And that is when we, what I call walking closer to God. And I believe that God is this, omnipotent, omnipresent energy that's that's inside of us,
Yeah.
and we're able to command it. We're able to command things into being. And that's, what Jesus was teaching.
Yeah.
It's like, you can command, you can
Yeah.
speak it
In my name,
and so
it will be done. Yeah.
And when we embody that, that's when we become very powerful. And when we think that is all outside of us somewhere and we have to earn it and deserve it, then we become very disempowered. And that's kind of what happens throughout the ages.
That was
And
very well said.
we're learning now that it's here and you don't need anyone to give it to you. It's just owning it and owning it again and again and again and again and again until it becomes so strong that it just shatters all the illusions you've been living in. And that's the power of frequency.
Absolutely. I like that.
Well said. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes, it was so
Absolutely.
good.
We
We
don't
don't
have-
this stuff for hours.
Yeah.
Oh no, you every time we're the same way. We're like, man, we can keep talking forever and ever. So like, we would love to have you on again and have some like further discussions on maybe like certain studies and certain treatments that you do or discussions on things like that would be
absolutely.
great.
There's
So we
so
can
many
deep
rabbit holes
dive.
to go
Yeah,
down.
deep.
Yes.
Yeah, hey, rabbit holes. Let's go.
I'm all about the rabbit holes. I'm about commanding this extra skin and fat cells on
Oh,
me. I'm gonna
girl.
start speaking to it.
Yeah, we just talked about
Casting
this
it
at
out.
dinner.
Reverence.
I'm gonna reverence it, and I'm gonna
This-
say, you know what? I'm gonna start visualizing.
I'm gonna own it and own the fact that yes, I did this to myself, but I'm gonna own the fact that I did it out of anxiety. I did it out of stress, and I did it out of unhappiness. And I'm gonna regain my happiness. I'm going to re-own my joyful and my positive, and I'm going to get rid of all that negative, because that's what in my personal opinion, because I was a very heavy kid and I lost all the weight when I got a little bit older. And so when I start to gain weight, it almost feels like gaining negativity. It feels like I'm gaining sorrow, I'm gaining anger, and I'm gaining frustration. It doesn't necessarily feel like weight, it feels like self-loathing.
Yeah.
And so when I gain it, I know there's something wrong.
Yeah, when the frequencies on your body, the
Yep.
metabolic processes slow down. It's stored in your tissues.
Yeah.
It is, but
Mhm.
treating yourself with reverence and treating your body like it's holy keeps us out of that.
That part.
but we can eat cake from a place of holiness, and
Yeah.
it has a very different
And it's
effect
very
on
low
the
calorie.
body,
Yeah,
actually.
it's very low calorie.
Spiritual food.
It processes metabolically differently. They did a full
Yes.
study on this.
That's
It's very
awesome.
different. Yeah.
I want to hear more about
I do
that.
too.
Romance yourself is what
Ooh,
it is.
I like
Yeah.
that.
I need to come and see you.
I think we both
How do
do.
people set up
Yeah, how do we
appointment
come
with
see you other than Instagram? Is it that how you do it through Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram, on my website, which is again kellyandlibby.com.
Mhm.
They'll see there's a contact link. You
Okay.
can send me an email.
Perfect.
And that's the best. Yes.
And are you available Monday through Friday, or is it weekends too, or what's your?
Mostly Monday through Friday,
Okay.
Unless it's a special
Because
thing.
you like to set boundaries so you can have
I
a life.
do.
Yes.
Yes.
As we all should.
Boundaries, weekends.
I'm setting some new boundaries. I'm definitely going to set
Yes,
some new
I think
boundaries.
we all need to. For
Oh,
sure.
I definitely need to set a boundary between my mouth and the chips and salsa.
Oh, girl, you had two. You had two.
I had like 7 chips.
I was waiting for you, and I had like 20.
7.
Yeah. My boyfriend. oh my goodness.
If I break the chip up in
I
little
do the
pieces,
same thing. I
does
feel
that
less
make me feel
guilty.
better?
I feel less guilty.
I feel less
It's all
guilty when I do that,
perspective.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys for listening. We don't have our timer, so I'm kind of like winging it here for whenever we
have 4 minutes, so we should
we do have
probably.
4.
Well, you said 3.
Yeah. I need my timer.
I know we don't have our timer. So anyway, what is something energy wise? Let's do that until we start hearing some music. What is energy wise something that you would like to focus on?
Setting boundaries.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to set boundaries for myself, boundaries for other people.
Mhm.
What about you, Kelly?
Yeah, so I'm still actively working on setting boundaries around my personal choices,
Mhm.
meaning really choosing for me, regardless of if I feel it's going to disappoint other people, because I'm like, this is my time, and I like the more you put it off, it's like another month goes by, another 4 months goes by.
Yeah.
It's like I could be out living my life, like living it, and I'm settling, right? Settling means I have no boundaries in this particular area. So that's the place I'm working at, because I want to live my life to the fullest.
Yeah.
In the way that I'm designed to, which is probably very different. Everyone's life is very different, right?
Then we
And
perceived it when we were first born. Yes.
right. So it's like, what brings me to life, and I've got to just go out and do that and keep my head out of it. That's no
Oh
place.
gosh.
I got to stay out of my head
Yeah.
Yeah.
unless I'm in there.
My head is my biggest problem. Yeah.
It's everyone's biggest problem.
Yeah.
Brittany, you?
I want to practice what you did, what you're saying, because I've said for the last year, and I've said to you before, that I want to get back to my true self that I used to be. And I used to be that person that anyone could come to, everyone trusted, everyone knew that I was just the kindest, most loving, most giving person. I would never betray them, never do anything to hurt anyone. And I still am that person, but I got bitter.
Yeah.
And I got angry, and I shut people out, and then I became someone I didn't like.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get back to that person. But at the same time, I need to make sure I'm maintaining those boundaries and seeing what being a beautiful person looks like, as well as making sure I feel like I'm still being beautiful to myself.
Exactly.
So I want to work on that for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. And we'll meet those when we've been in kind of that bitter place too. Like we'll come up against that when we think about being a beautiful person sometimes, but it's like you got to step back into your spiritual truth and know that compassion for yourself is what will begin to dissolve and alchemize that bitterness that wants to stay there, because part of you wants to still be mad.
Yeah.
The ego.
You want that? Yeah, exactly. You want to be angry. I have every right to be
It's
angry.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
you can be
The
angry
entitlement.
for
Yeah.
as long as you want.
Yeah, but it takes so much
Nobody
energy,
does.
and it's so stressful, and it causes so much. Ugh.
Yeah.
Cuts you
And it's
off from life.
uncomfortable to get to stuff like
Yeah.
that.
So
But-
should we pray at the end?
Oh,
or are
well,
we good?
Jesus, you know we love you.
We love you,
Jesus.
honey.
We love
Yes,
you.
we do.
Everybody's listening. We love you.
And thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you,
on with
Kelly.
us,
Thank
Kelly.
you so much.
All right, and see y'all later. Bye.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible.